We have begun our journey in the Bundesliga with Leverkusen, but when we took them over, they were in a relegation fight. I literally went from winning the Champions League with a star-studded squad to bottom of the Bundesliga. But that's the move we needed to progress our glory hunter story. And after a very good transfer window in January, we managed to turn things around on the pitch. And we secured our safety for the next season in the Bundesliga and avoided relegation. And we continued to recruit through the summer, beginning our first full season in Germany with a win over Dortmund, as well as selling our main striker, replacing him with Nelson Viper from rivals Leipzig. We followed the early win against Dortmund with a match at home against Hanover, and took a comfortable 2-goal lead going into halftime with goals from Florian Wirtz and Krupi. Our opponents pulled one back right after halftime through Clemens Hoffmans, but it was the Uruguayan youngster Omar Sanchez who snagged the third and put the game to bed. But we put ourselves in deep trouble right away when we visited Gladbach, as they scored within 9 minutes and got a second after the 25th minute. 2-0 down, we are in trouble, but Omar Sanchez, the kid that started the comeback for Leverkusen when he beat the keeper to the ball. But it wasn't until late in the second half, with just 5 minutes remaining. Onyek Bule levels the score to make it 2-2, and just before we enter injury time, the same man put us 3-2 up, and we remained on our winning streak. The transfer window closed, and with us spending £68 million, we sold £40 million, but I think the squad is looking in much greater shape now. And our fantastic start to the season, we have the champions Bayern Munich coming up after the Frankfurt game. The Frankfurt game in which we completely dominated them 6-1 with Krupi scoring 4 goals. But the champions were always going to be a different beast, and they scored within the first minute of the match. We did put up a good fight though, especially considering the game was in Munich. In fact, we also went to 2-2, and we scored the 5th goal to take the lead right on the stroke of half time. But Zakarian, the Russian, scored another in the second half, and an own goal put Bayern back in front. And unfortunately, Vidovic scored the last goal of the game, and we were humbled 5-3. We followed that with a fantastic win and a great bounce back against Werder Bremen. Krupi again scoring 2. I still haven't started Viper because of the performances of him and even Omar Sanchez, who got a goal as well in the 3-0 win. Both guys were top scorers of the league, and Krupi with the highest average rating. And we were currently still sitting in top position despite losing to Bayern Munich simply because of their loss to Dortmund. Unfortunately, getting to the top is always easy. Staying there is the hardest part, and the following match with a draw against Stuttgart was when we dropped down into second place. Florian Wirtz scored 2 goals in a home win against Hertha Berlin, so I thought we were still going to put up a bit of a fight, possibly for the league title. But the 3-2 loss to Cologne that came after kind of hampered my belief that we would put up a serious fight. Bayern created a 5-point gap just after 9 games, and Sesko caught up with Krupi as the top scorer of the league. So when the DFB Pokal's second round match came around, I was kind of relieved for the break in the league matches so we could regather ourselves, and our opponents Heidenheim held on until the floodgates opened on the 80th minute, where we scored 3 goals to make it, on paper, look like an easy contest. Nelson Viper finally scored for the club though, and yeah, there were 2 tap-ins, but it was the 2 tap-ins that we needed in a 2-1 win against Hoffenheim. Krupi was still scoring goals all around him though, with 5 in the other 3 games around that win, with only 1 loss against Leipzig. But throughout December, Nelson continued to score goals, including the opener against Mainz in a 3-1 win with a cracking header, and the first goal in the 2-1 win against Dusseldorf. And the big German scored 3 huge headed goals against Union Berlin, all in the first half and all in a game in which we dominated and won 8-0. We were in fact 7-0 up by half time. What a match. But it wasn't like Krupi hadn't been scoring himself. He got 10 goals in December alone, which all in all turned out to be a very good month for us. But it's Dortmund and Leipzig in the cup up next. You could also jot down another Ballon d'Or win for Erling Haaland this season. Maybe Krupi will win it next year. The head of Nelson gave us the lead against Borussia Dortmund, but they were gunning for us after the early result against them in the opening day, and after they equalised, they had the audacity of scoring from a near post corner in the 95th minute. And I wonder if the set piece police will be down in the comment section about that one. Anyway, let's pick ourselves up again in the DFB Pokal against Leipzig. The orange ball was out in Leverkusen for the rain, it seemed, in early January as we welcomed Leipzig with a junior Krupi goal. Leipzig gave us a loss not so long ago, and their team is full of big names, and Szoboszlai bends one in the far corner to equalise. Fabian Rieder then netted a penalty on the stroke of half time, with the game closing closing out at 2-1. Max Aaron's put us 3-1 ahead. Leipzig did get a second goal in injury time, but we held on to progress in the competition. I really thought Omar Sanchez would be our standout striker this season, but it seems like he is the third favourite now, because Nelson Viper and Junior Kruppier started to form a wonderful partnership, scoring more goals. Although in the following win against Gladbach, I did play Sanchez up front with Nelson Viper, and they both scored too. Maybe I just had 3 really good goal scorers now. One thing we are missing though is a decent centre-back, and I found a phenomenal German new gen at Dortmund, and I put a bid in for 38 million. The funds for the deal came when I sold a couple of fringe players throughout January, including Thiago Almada to Schalke for 13.5 million. And the centre-back Yanni Wagner became a Leverkusen player. Although the big deals around the world, like the leaders of La Liga Real Madrid, they sold Endrick to Manchester United for over £100 million, who also bought Raspadori. Kruppier as well and truly took charge of the Golden Boot race, but we are currently in third behind Dortmund, with Frankfurt away and Bayern Munich at home next. Kruppier wasn't available for the Frankfurt game though, with fitness problems, so with the strike force of Sanchez and Nelson Viper, we still give Frankfurt a very hard game, and Viper picked up the man of the match performance with an assist and a goal. We risked Kruppier in the next match, still with some fitness worries, but it was Bayern, and it actually paid off as he played a big part in the only goal of the game. We did drop points however in the league against Werder Bremen, but a Wirtz hat-trick helped us beat Stuttgart 5-0. In the DFB Pokal quarter-final we faced St. Pauli, and Nelson Viper scored a banger of a volley. And with the strike force of dreams that was back in action, Junior Kruppier got the second of this 2-0 win. We then pulled Hertha Berlin in the semi-final, which will be played a little later, but funny enough, that's the team we have next in the league. And they bloody cheated and scored a near post header in the first half. Quite embarrassing too, because they also scored a second with a player that we loaned to them in January. But that brought on the rage of our players as well, and Junior Kruppier smashed in to make it 2-1. And his mate Nelson Viper wanted to get involved, and then he equalised. Now, Stefan Bajcetic is a centre-back slash CDM, but you never would have guessed that with the way he smashed in this winner at the near post. We rescued a point against Cologne in the following game in the 91st minute. We had another former player score against us against Schalke, as Thiago Almada probably really enjoyed that one. But what's more enjoyable for me is that the fact that Kruppier's on fire and your defence is terrified. Oh, and Nelson is also still bagging in goals too. He got the winner. And again, even on the days where maybe these two aren't scoring, we have Omar Sanchez as backup who still can. With 6 games left, we are 8 points behind Bayern, but we have produced a gap in second to Dortmund. And Kruppier has 30 league goals now. He did miss the game against Leipzig in the league, but Nelson put on another man of the match performance, scoring 2 goals and putting us 2-0 up. Leipzig got a goal back for them to give them hope, but Ilyas Maripa secured the win in the 93rd minute. We travelled to Mainz and they were reduced to 10 men within 20 minutes. Ideal. You'd think we'd take advantage of that, which we did through Junior Kruppier, but then Mainz got a late equaliser and kind of embarrassed us with a 1-1 draw. But it's semi-final time and it's Hertha Berlin. Former player in Julian Brandt then set up the on-loan player to score against us again and make it 1-0. We pushed big time for an equaliser, but fair play to Hertha Berlin. They were fantastic on the day, they scored a second goal, and they knocked us out of the DFB Pokal, which is not great for Glory Hunter. The 3-0 win against Dusseldorf was exactly what we needed to follow that loss, which secured Champions League football next season. Kind of a problem considering we need the Europa League, but it's still an achievement. We finished the season with 2 more wins against Union Berlin and Wolfsburg. And you would be surprised to see how close we actually finished to Bayern Munich, who did drop points after winning the league, but there we are, 2 points behind them. And there is Kruppier with 33 goals in 34 games, and we also have the top 3 assisters of the league as well. The board hasn't really given us much of a budget next season, but there's still room to improve. And that's because our finances are £71 million in debt, which is kind of worrying. Arsenal won the league in England, Milan in Italy, but with Roma still there in second place, and Real Madrid have dominated Spain this season, so I was hoping maybe we would see Barcelona job possibly come up. But no, the only jobs with vacancies were Chelsea, our former club, Leipzig and Frankfurt, and I remembered Leipzig finished in 6th place. It caught my eye, but because Hertha Berlin made the final, they dropped out of the Europa League qualification and put Leipzig into the EC2 instead. So for right now, I guess we will stay put at Leverkusen, keep going for the German League and the Cup into season number 9, and focus on the Europa League later on.